they've been on Earth for millions of years. Crocodiles. The largest of all living reptiles, and among the most dangerous animals in Australia. Superbly adapted to aquatic life, crocodiles are formidable predators. With skull-crushing jaws and lightning speed. They're skilled hunters, fishermen, scavengers, and even cannibals. And they're survivors. Once rare and in decline, these powerful carnivores are in the ascendant once more. They dominate the waterways and wetlands of far north Australia, a vast island continent, home to some of the planet's most unusual and fascinating animals. These are the secrets of the crocodile. Far north Australia. The climate is tropical and features some of the most exotic landscapes in the country. The coastline is fractured by multiple river systems that snake their way towards the sea. In these brackish waters and along these wooded riverbanks lurks an awe-inspiring creature. The saltwater or estuarine crocodile. Known locally as salties, these are the country's largest land-based predators. Freshwater crocs also live here. They have narrower snouts, better suited to catching the aquatic life they eat. They often live alongside the salties, in fresher waters further upstream. These amphibious reptiles are everywhere. Whether they're visible or not, if there's water in this part of Australia, crocs are there. Solitary and extremely aggressive. In rivers and creeks, mangrove swamps, waterholes, even the open sea. This is Boris, one of the crocodiles on this stretch of river named by researchers studying crocodile behaviour. He's a large salty, at around 5 metres long and weighing over 700 kilos. At this time of year, he spends time soaking up the sun at the water's edge. It's October and the dry season is drawing to a close. Up here in the far north, there are just two main seasons, the wet and the dry. When the rains come, everything will change and it will be time to mate. Boris is already moving in on Amber. At just over 3 metres, she's one of the largest females around. But there's a problem. Amber's in the territory of Ted, the dominant male of the area. Crocodiles have a fierce dominance hierarchy, and as top croc, one of Ted's privileges is to hold on to mating rights with any females on his patch. If Boris wants Amber, he'll have to get past Ted. Dominance is partially based on size, and at 5.3 metres long and weighing 800 kilos, Ted is the largest croc on this stretch of river. Most males are between 3 and 5 metres, but salties have been known to grow as long as 6.5 metres and weigh in at over 1,300 kilos. Size is also a marker of age, and Ted is thought to be an impressive 100 years old. Ted's gnarled and deformed head are evidence of years of battling with rival males. He's also blind and has lost many of his teeth. These fall out and grow again up to 45 times as the crocodile increases in size. But Ted's run out of replacements. Crocs swallow their prey whole, so he can still eat, but his hold on power may be starting to wane. When breeding season begins, Boris could challenge Ted for mating rights with Amber. In the meantime, Boris and the other crocodiles must get on with the everyday business of surviving. It's something they're perfectly adapted to do. Crocodiles were here long before the dinosaurs and have outlived them by millions of years. Crocodile fossils have been found dating as far back as 200 million years. And they appear in ancient Aboriginal rock art. Salties are found in parts of Southeast Asia and New Guinea too. In other parts of the world, their numbers are threatened. But they've been protected in Australia since the 1970s, which has led to a huge surge in their numbers. It's thought that the saltwater crocodile population now stands at between 150 and 200,000. It's been dry season now for over 5 months. There hasn't been rain in a long time. Waterholes are developing thick mud at their edges. Rivers are low. And animals coming down to the water's edge to drink can be excellent quarry for the stealthy crocodile. Salties are hypercarnivores, meaning their diet is more than 70% meat. They'll eat just about any animal they can catch and overpower, including fish, birds, small animals, even humans. Like all estuarine crocodiles, Boris is mostly nocturnal. But will hunt during the day when he gets a chance. He gets into position along the riverbank to watch for anything that comes within striking distance. Sweeps of his powerful tail propel him silently through the water. His short limbs with clawed, webbed feet are ideal for swimming. His eyes, ears and nostrils are located on top of his head, allowing him to lie low while keeping an eye on his prey. As well as a good sense of smell, he has sensory pits along his entire body which detect vibrations. Boris senses movement. He dives, keeping any exposure to the minimum. When Boris is underwater, his scales, known as osteoderms, create a low-pressure system around him, resulting in a countercurrent around his body. The water surface won't ripple as he swims up to his prey. He's invisible. The little moorhen in the reed beds is oblivious to his presence. But Boris is after a bigger prize. He moves on silently. An unsuspecting wallaby has come to the water to drink. Unaware of what may lurk nearby. A crocodile can lunge incredibly fast, using both feet and tail to propel himself from the water. Boris clamps the wallaby with his long, powerful jaws. A special valve at the back of his throat allows him to open his mouth to catch and hold prey under the water without any entering his throat. But to eat the wallaby, his head needs to be above water. A crocodile can eat an incredible 23% of its body weight in one go. It can secrete gastric acid faster than any other animal, liquefying bone matter in just a few hours. The only thing Boris can't digest is keratin, so he'll cough up the fur later. Anything he can't manage now, he'll conceal and return for snacks when he's hungry. While crocodiles are opportunistic hunters, it's harder for them to move around to other waterways during the dry season. This can limit their feeding options. But the drier, less humid weather allows the crocs to stock up on energy in other ways. From the sun. Saltwater and freshwater crocodiles are ectotherms, meaning they're cold-blooded. Unlike humans and other mammals, they're unable to internally regulate their body temperature. To keep warm, they need to sunbathe. They stay very still, and their metabolism shuts right down to conserve energy, whilst they absorb the sun's warmth. The scales on a crocodile's back act rather like their own solar panels. Tiny blood vessels carry blood right to the surface of the scales, where it's quickly warmed by the sun's rays. As the blood circulates, the heat is transferred to the rest of the body. This regular need for warmth explains why crocodiles are only suited to living in the tropics. Crocodiles don't need to expend any energy generating body heat, which is why they can go for long stretches without feeding. Basking to absorb heat takes up at least a few hours of each day, depending on the weather. Now at the end of the dry season, there's still plenty of sunshine. Crocodiles often like to sunbathe with their mouths open. It may show off this croc's superbly sharp teeth, but it's actually a way of helping him regulate his body temperature when it gets hotter. The Australian sun is fierce, and temperatures may rise still further when the wet season arrives. Like a panting dog, the crocodile produces saliva, which will cool him as it evaporates. But if his temperature rises above 35 degrees Celsius, he'll shoot back into the cool of the water. While Amber basks on the banks, she may look asleep, but she's actually always half awake. Crocodiles are able to shut down one side of their brains at a time while keeping one eye open. This is known as unihemispheric sleep. Scientists have discovered that crocodiles can deploy unilateral eye closure while dozing, enabling them to keep one eye out for potential threats or prey at all times. Crocodiles also have 3 eyelids, 2 ordinary ones made of keratin, and a third underneath which covers the eye sideways, called the nictitating membrane. This acts as a protective layer against detritus while underwater. As the dry season draws to a close, many crocodiles take to the water to make the most of an unusual feeding opportunity. The East Alligator River in the Northern Territory. It's 160 kilometres long and, despite its name, is full of crocodiles. 80 kilometres from the river's mouth is a causeway known as Cahill's Crossing. It's in Kakadu National Park, a popular tourist destination. Cars can only cross here when the river's lower in dry season. But at the end of the season, that changes. This year, the change of season coincides with the highest tide in weeks. And the crocodiles seem to know exactly when it's due. As the waters start rising, Boris, Amber, and numerous other crocodiles begin to appear. They converge on the area from all over the river system. It's not known precisely what triggers the crocs to arrive at the same time. They may have deeper communication abilities than are currently understood. Crocodiles have extraordinary powers of hearing. Their middle ear can detect sounds that are inaudible to the human ear. In between either side of their cranial plate and ears is a small muscular flap, which allows them to navigate magnetically, like birds. It's also known that crocs can track the migratory routes of their prey as the seasons change. The causeway usually prevents fish from migrating upstream. But as the spring tides boost the water levels in the river, they bring mullet, barramundi, and even turtles from downstream, attracted by the weed beds and nutrients of the fresher water. The arrival of the tide means that the river's flow switches direction to upstream, making movement easier for the fish as they travel towards the source. As the water levels steadily rise, the crossing is still used by road traffic. The big males are first in line for the migrating fish feast and take up the best positions just over the causeway. One of the largest crocodiles here, a 4.3 metre male named Nigel, has been fitted with a GPS tracking device by scientists following his movements. Studies of crocodile navigation have found that when they're on the move, salties can travel great distances up and down the river systems and out to sea. Males of between 3 and 3.5 metres have been observed travelling furthest. They aren't big enough to have their own territories, but are large enough to defend themselves from sharks and other crocodiles. Nigel has been travelling 120 kilometres down the East Alligator River, into the sea and back up another river. Another study tracked a crocodile covering nearly 600 kilometres in less than a month. As the waters begin to engulf the causeway, motorists keen to make the crossing take greater risks. The crocodiles use the surge created by the cars to give them extra propulsion. Local police advise drivers to always give way to crocodiles. Salties may not actively hunt humans, but if one crosses their path, they're more than happy to take the opportunity. During the 1980s, a crocodile knocked a car off the crossing with its tail. And a fisherman was also taken by a crocodile here when he fell into the water. Over the past 45 years in Australia, there have been 99 crocodile attacks, 27 of them fatal. The fish are jumping. The crocodiles wait with open mouths, and their front limbs stretched out wide. It's a technique known as cross-posture fishing. The crocs have sensory receptors in their scales called ISOs, which are more sensitive than a human fingertip. Scientists believe that by holding their arms wide, the crocodiles create an arc with the receptors located around their jaws. This increases their ability to determine any movement around them. And as more and more fish cross the causeway, the better the opportunities for feasting. There are as many as 40 crocodiles at the crossing now. What makes this event so extraordinary is that it's the only time of year when big males like Boris will tolerate one another in such close proximity. Some experts believe the crocodiles may be cooperating, working together in close line formations to herd schools of fish so they can all feed. The blockade effect of the crocodiles makes it harder for the fish to get through. Further upstream, any fish that have made it past the big males come up against a second line of hungry jaws. Females like Amber and the smaller males wait at a slight distance from the frontline feeders. When crocs are able to feast like this, they make the most of it. This meal can last them some time, and they may even store fish under rocks to eat later. The salties swallow the fish whole. The crocodiles' tongues don't move easily, so they manipulate the food into position for swallowing. But if a fish isn't pointing head first, the scales can get stuck in their throats. So this croc flips his fish like a pancake to get it the right way up. But sometimes a misjudged throw lets the fish make a lucky escape. After just 2 hours, the tidal waters start to recede. As quickly as they arrived, the crocodiles silently disappear and drift apart once again to return to their more solitary existences, well stocked up for the season ahead. The wet season finally arrives. Humidity goes up. Storms erupt. And heavy rain falls in blasting showers. 90% of the entire annual rainfall will occur in the next 4 months. Away from the unusual feeding event, the crocs are back to their more typical hierarchy. Crocodile society is run on highly combative domination tactics. Head clashes will establish and reinforce dominance, and can even happen between females. Wet season means that the time is approaching for the crocodiles to mate. Ted may be old, but he's still the dominant crocodile here. Keeping his grip on the top spot is vital, as it means more chances to breed. As temperatures rise, intense courtship begins. A challenge for Boris, who has his sights set on Amber. Boris needs to broach Ted's territorial dominance to get her. For crocodiles, body posture is a key means of communication. Boris approaches Amber. She raises her head, a sign of submission. These are the first overtures in crocodile courtship. Amber starts blowing bubbles in the water. This indicates that she's receptive. She makes encouraging noises with chirpy rasps from her nostrils. Boris starts to circle her, the next move in the ritual. But just as things are hotting up, Ted moves in, and Boris is forced to retreat. But Boris hasn't given up. Later that night, he uses the cover of darkness to continue wooing Amber, giving out deep, rasping noises of his own. They swim around together for hours before they eventually mate. Copulation can last up to 15 minutes and takes place while fully submerged. Ted's reign as the dominant male has been challenged. Amber's behaviour is not unusual. Females will often allow subordinate males to mate with them on the sly to ensure all of their eggs are fertilised. Researchers analysing crocodile eggs have found that in some cases only a few belong to the dominant male. The next day, Ted's regime is threatened once more when large male Chopper makes his way into his territory. Saltwater crocodiles are keen ambush predators, but if a chance arises, they'll also scavenge. And the wet season presents new opportunities. As water levels fluctuate with the rain, the riverbanks become littered with all sorts of debris, including carrion. Domestic livestock can end up here, as well as wild animals, like this large feral pig. It may be in Ted's territory, but whoever gets to the carcass first will consider it theirs. When there's a ready food source like this, Chopper doesn't hold back. Salties don't mind whether food is fresh or rotting. The carcass quickly attracts other crocodiles. Soon Ted, Boris and several females are fighting it out for the free meal. Chopper keeps trying to oust Boris and Ted by smashing down onto their snouts. Chopper continues to dominate. He fights off the others and sticks close to the carcass, hissing. Crocodiles have no vocal cords. He makes these sounds by forcing air out of his nostrils. A study of the salty's bite found that theirs is the strongest of any creature in the world. With a maximum bite force of 281 kilos per square centimetre, their muscles are arranged for clamping down tightly. Once Chopper gets close enough to get his teeth around part of the pig, he needs to find a way of taking bites from it. His teeth interlock, so when they bite into an animal, it creates a serration. Better for gripping prey rather than for chewing. To shear meat off, he needs to shake. So to do that, he grips, rolls, and rips. This behaviour is often referred to as the death roll. A dominant male will let the females feed and chase away the smaller males. But Ted doesn't manage to see off Chopper. Chopper manages to drag most of the carcass away. Now it's clear that Ted's rule is on the decline. It's December. And Amber has produced a small clutch of 16 hard-shelled eggs. Females can lay up to 80 eggs in a season. She's scratched a nest almost a metre high, using vegetation and mud. The eggs will be incubated, both by heat generated from the rotting leaves and by solar radiation. Her nest is close to the water. She's placed it carefully. Too close and rising waters could flood the nest and kill the embryos. Amber will stay here day and night for the 3 months it takes for the eggs to hatch. She's fiercely protective. She'll react aggressively to defend her eggs against would-be predators like wild dogs, lizards, or feral pigs, as well as other crocodiles. For Amber's babies, the struggle for survival has begun. The exact timing of hatching will depend on an optimal temperature of 31 to 32 degrees. Any higher or lower, and the hatchlings could be deformed or die. It's estimated that up to 75% of eggs laid in a season won't hatch at all. When Amber's hatchlings emerge, they're highly vulnerable. Baby crocodiles are only 25 to 30 centimetres long at hatching, an easily edible snack for many predators. Carnivorous fish, like barramundi, will eat a young crocodile. While on the land, goanna lizards may prey on them. From the air, birds of prey, like the white-bellied sea eagle, can attack. Crocodile mothers protect their young during the first months of life. But as the young salty grows, an even greater threat will come from his own species. Big males like Ted or Boris will do anything they can to get rid of young rivals. And that extends to cannibalism. They'll eat both hatchlings and young juveniles if they get a chance. A dominant male can pick up the scent of smaller males in his territory and get rid of them. Young females can also be eaten, but have a better chance of being saved for future breeding. It's thought that only 1% of male hatchlings make it to adulthood. So the odds are that only 1 or 2 of Amber's hatchlings may reach maturity. If they do, there's a chance that they could still be alive 100 years from now. Long after their likely father, Ted or Boris, has departed. They could become the next alpha crocodiles, aiding the survival of their extraordinary species for many more generations to come. Flying out of the Australian twilight is one of the most successful mammals on the planet. The bat. They're the second largest order of mammals after the rodents, and the only ones capable of sustained flight. One group of bats, the flying foxes, are among the most gregarious of their kind, living communally in noisy tens of thousands. Spending their time feeding, fighting for dominance, and indulging in a rather torrid love life. They're found roosting in the trees across Australia, a vast island continent, home to some of the most unusual and fascinating animals on the planet. These are the secrets of the flying fox. Cutting a lush green swathe through the bustling metropolis of Sydney, Australia, is Centennial Park. In among its lofty treetops live around 20,000 flying foxes. They got this name because their long muzzles give them a foxy appearance. They're members of an ancient species. Fossils of their ancestors date back around 58 million years. There are 4 kinds of flying fox in Australia, but these grey-headed flying foxes are the most numerous. They have a distinctive gingery collar and, unlike other fruit bats, fur that goes all the way down to their feet. With a wingspan of more than a metre, they're the largest fruit-eating bat in Australia. These highly sociable mammals like to live tightly packed, wingtip to wingtip, in extremely large groups, all along the eastern coastal belt of Australia. From the cool climes of Victoria in the south right up into the tropics of Queensland in the north. Wherever they go, the bats are incredibly noisy. The sounds they make are a complex form of communication. Grey-headed flying foxes have been recorded making over 30 different calls. Moving from place to place as their food trees come into flower and fruit, they're extremely adaptable and can live in the depths of the rainforest, on farmland, and right next to humans. This colony lives in a park right in the middle of a town in New South Wales. The flying foxes are so flexible, they've got used to cars passing by right next to where they rest and sleep, and are tolerant of humans. For flying foxes, the coming of darkness means feeding time. Every dusk, they take to the skies en masse to find food. Their flying height will vary according to the topography of the ground below them. But their cruising altitude is around 30 to 80 metres, at speeds between 24 and 40 kilometres per hour. Many bats use a kind of organic sonar called echolocation to zero in on insects and eat them. But flying foxes don't hunt live prey. They eat fruit, so they don't use echolocation. They use their eyesight. They have large eyes, particularly well adapted to recognising colours at night, which along with an excellent sense of smell helps to identify edible fruits and blossoms. The bats have found one of their favourite foods, the blossom of the eucalyptus tree. It's one of Australia's most important and distinctive trees, with many hundreds of different species, many of them known as gum trees by the locals. The flowers are rich in nectar, and the flying foxes love them. They aren't the only creatures to come out and feed after the sun's gone down. In fact, Australia's wild animals have a thriving nightlife. Wombats and brush-tailed possums are nocturnal, as are quokkas, small marsupials. They all do most of their feeding at night. Little penguins go fishing all day, and for them, night time is for socialising. For the flying foxes, though, night time is all about getting down enough food. They have an extremely fast digestive system, and in a single night can eat 2.5 times their own body weight. It's the only way they can acquire sufficient protein from the fruit they eat. They're well adapted to eat soft blossoms and fruit. The roof of their mouth or palate is deeply ridged, and their tongue crushes the food up against it. They can process large amounts of food rapidly by sucking the nectar out of blossoms or chewing fruit. Flying foxes help spread tree and plant species. Most tree species propagate themselves by producing pollen and seeds that contain their genetic information. They rely on the wind, insects or other animals to spread this around and ensure their survival. It takes between 12 and 24 minutes for food to pass through flying foxes' digestive tracts. By the time they excrete seeds or pollen, they've often flown onto a new area, giving the plant species a chance to grow somewhere new. It's early morning in Sydney's Centennial Park, and the foxes are returning from foraging, back to their daytime roosting area or camp. Camps are the focal point of flying fox life. This is the place to rest up after feeding, find a mate, have babies, safely bring up offspring, and argue with the neighbours. Within each geographical area, they generally stay faithful to the same campsites, one camp for the summer and another for the winter. Foxes are generally pregnant during the winter and raise their young at summer camps before mating again. Out in the rural farmlands of central New South Wales, 240 kilometres north of Sydney and near to the small town of Muswellbrook, there's an even bigger colony of around 40,000 bats. Flying foxes like their camps to be absolutely jam-packed, and Muswellbrook is no exception. The colony occupies every tree, vine, and shrub available. With space at such a premium in the camp, each flying fox returning home from feeding must come into land in a tiny spot. But a large wingspan and a tight space to manoeuvre into makes landing a tricky task. They must visually select their spot and slow their speed right down using all their wing surfaces at different angles, like the flaps on an aircraft. Then hover and slot into place. The foxes need to develop their aerial skills. Often the younger, less experienced flyers will crash into branches or vegetation and rip through their wings. Bat wings are living tissue, so small rips and tears will heal, but large holes can compromise their ability to fly and to feed. Their manoeuvrability is all down to the physical makeup of their wings. Semi-transparent, the wings are made up of 2 layers of almost hairless skin stretched over the 5-digit forelimb. Sandwiched between the 2 sheets of skin is a thin layer of connective tissue containing blood vessels, nerves, and elastin fibres. To be aerodynamically efficient, the foxes need their wings to be tough enough not to tear in flight, whilst also having the flexibility to fold around their bodies when resting. It's the elastin reinforcing the wing membranes that makes all of this possible. The wings are crucial to getting airborne, flying and feeding, so the fox's very survival depends on keeping them in tip-top shape. They spend a part of each day performing essential wing maintenance, cleaning every inch of the leathery membrane. Flying foxes' wings are useful for far more than just flying. The membranes are spread out over a skeleton resembling an elongated human hand, equipped with a thumb. And, just like human thumbs, they're immensely useful. They work as handy hooks and climbing gear. They help the flying foxes scale their way up trees and maneuver themselves into positions it would be hard to fly into. Their thumbs also make very serviceable weapons. Tipped with a razor-sharp claw, these bat digits are top tools for defending their spot. Jostling for position is a major fox pastime. And the daytime roosts are where flying fox politics play out. Although to human eyes the trees look pretty similar, to a flying fox, every inch of every branch has social significance. There's a hierarchy within the bat camp. Males will show their dominance by claiming and defending the best spots in the trees. The highest, coolest spots in trees at the centre of the camp are deemed the most desirable pieces of real estate. If a male can establish one of these as his territory, he'll have higher status and be more attractive to females. Once a male has staked out his claim to one of the top spots, it's his job to defend it. Vigorously. Fall is the time of year when all the pushing and shoving could pay off. It's mating season, and the most successful males will be those who've put in the hard work beforehand to consistently win the high status spots. This adult male has claimed one of the most prized perches, high up in one of the best trees. It's his way of clearly signalling his dominance and superiority to the females. The mating system of the grey-headed flying fox is described as a lek, where the female decides which male to mate with based on his location within the camp. The better the location, the greater the genetic fitness of the male. Or so the theory goes. This female has selected one of the dominant males as her breeding partner and moves from her own spot to be with him on his branch. But she's not alone. She's joined by other females who've also chosen this male. Up to 5 females will form his harem for this breeding season. They start the mating ritual with some exploratory sniffing on the male's part. The female tolerates his attention, so mutual grooming is next, which can last half an hour. After a relatively long wooing, the act itself is over fairly quickly. And once again, those thumbs come in handy. The female may not look that keen, but she's actively moved from her own roosting spot to be with this dominant male. And they'll copulate up to 4 times an hour, over several days. For the other non-dominant males, mating is less of a surefire certainty. They haven't been strong enough or dominant enough to fight their way to the centre of the colony and up to the top spots in the highest trees. Being on the outer fringes of the camp in the less desirable spots means they have little chance of attracting a harem. So they need to work hard to find a partner amongst the remaining females who have chosen not to join a dominant male. It's not known why some females opt out of the hierarchical system. This lower-ranking male has been successful and found a single female. Bats operating outside the harem system are often monogamous, and these two may stay together for the entire mating season. But this young, non-dominant male hasn't established a pair bond. He doesn't have the benefit of sitting back and letting the ladies flock to him. So he's got to take his chances and try his luck with any female he can find. He uses his claws to climb around the tree, encountering females as he goes. The young male is really covering some ground, checking out every female in his path. The choice of whether to mate or not lies with the females, and they're signalling their disinterest by completely ignoring him, moving away, or using their own claws to make their point. But this bat Lothario isn't giving up so easily. Doggedly, he works his way around the tree, sniffing at females to see if they'll reciprocate and let him move on to some grooming. For a long time, it's a fruitless task. But it's vital for the colony's long-term survival that even his breeding season is successful. Although these colonies may seem large, flying foxes are listed as vulnerable. Thousands are shot by fruit farmers or die in fires or droughts every year. So the ardent young bat needs to be persistent. And eventually he gets a female interested enough to mate with him. Breeding season is a very active time for the foxes. They're feeding every night and returning to the camp in the daytime to mate. But breeding ends with the arrival of winter, and the pregnant females will have a quieter camp life for the next 6 months. As the sun gets higher in the sky, it's time to prepare for sleep. The bat preference for living in such tightly packed quarters makes for very eventful and noisy bedtimes. This is also the time when many of the bats go for a poop. For this job, they need to turn right side up. Their roost is around 16 kilometres from where they fed last night. And by carrying pollen on their fur and excreting seeds in this new location, they're spreading the tree species. The flying fox's bedtime routine involves a long checklist. Not only must they safely land, tend to their wings, defend their spot against any newcomers, and empty their bowels. They also have to get themselves to the right temperature. Like humans, they continuously regulate their body temperature. Their optimal levels are between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius. In Australia's often harsh climate, this isn't always easy, and their wings are a vital aid. The blood vessels that run throughout the wing membrane help the bat with thermoregulation. Stretching their wings fully can be both a display and a way of getting warmth from the sun. And on hot days, fanning their wings can promote heat loss. On cold days, they wrap their wings tightly around themselves to retain body heat. With such a large wingspan, there's plenty of membrane to act as a blanket, and even a raincoat in bad weather. Having made sure they're comfortable, it's finally time to get some rest. But for animals that sleep upside down, an absolutely critical preparation for a good long nap is making sure they can't fall off their perch. The flying foxes have a brilliant adaptation for their topsy-turvy life. Feet with a locking mechanism. When a bat hangs onto a branch, its leg muscles contract to pull the toes tight. It's a ratchet system, which locks the toes in place with an immensely powerful grasp. It means the foxes can rest and sleep securely, even in high winds. Another adaptation allows the legs to bend both ways, forward and back, so they can switch direction without changing their grip. This is possible because the bat's femur, or thigh bone, is twisted, and the kneecaps are reduced or absent, giving a greater degree of movement at the knee joint. Flying foxes have another modification that's essential to spending so much time upside down. Their cardiovascular system. A human wouldn't be able to spend so much time suspended like this because blood would begin to pool in places that it shouldn't, like the lungs and head. Although bats have a typical mammalian cardiovascular system like us, they've evolved an unusually large heart. Relative to body weight, their hearts are at least twice the size of the hearts of other similar-sized mammals. This oversized heart can keep enough blood circulating to prevent it from flooding the brain. The flying foxes spend time upside down to relax. And if not sleepy, get some sunbathing in. They'll rest and doze for most of the day in their spots in the trees. But as prey animals for eagles and pythons, they remain ever alert and mindful of what's happening around them. In the heart of Sydney, the Centennial Park foxes have their days' sleep disturbed by aerial visitors. A group of black cockatoos is circling the camp. They're around the same size as the flying foxes and just as noisy. The cockatoos appear to be deliberately harassing the bats. They may want to intimidate the bats out of their roosting spots so they can take over the trees. Eventually, the noisy birds move on, and the flying foxes can finally, with some squabbling, get to sleep. In the Musselbrook camp, the pastoral peace and quiet is shattered by the arrival of a metal monster. Even though the foxes have deliberately established their camp here, the noise of the train's horn unsettles them, and they take to the skies in an unusual daytime burst of activity. It takes them a while to regain some equilibrium. As twilight falls, the flying foxes are awake and restless. Once again, it's almost time for them to leave the camp and fly out for their evening's feeding. The locking system in their legs has kept them safely hanging upside down without falling all day. Now it's time to release this powerful grip. To unlock the tightly fastened feet, they must flap their wings until they become horizontal. Taking the body weight away from their legs releases their feet from the branch. There's a definite technique to it, and inexperienced flyers can struggle with unlocking their feet. Moving out from the camp in the evening to find food is called emergence, and it's a waiting contest. Depending on what's flowering or fruiting, the bats may have to travel 40 kilometres to find food. So those who leave earliest theoretically get the first chance at the nearest fruit. But they also have a higher chance of being caught by predatory birds like kites and eagles. In the end, it's usually adults like this, females with a poorer body condition, that leave first. They're the hungriest, so more likely to take the risk. Like mating rights, the emergence time of the male adults is related to their social standing. In the mating season, a flying fox with a harem will only leave his spot once his last female has flown out, so as to avoid having her stolen by a later leaving, lower-ranked male. If they're not waiting to steal the top bat's harem member, the non-dominant males will leave with the adult females. But eventually, they all take flight. As the days lengthen and winter turns to spring, the females are now 6 months pregnant and get ready to give birth. When their time is close, They segregate themselves away from the males. Birthing season is in the Australian spring, September through to November. Flying foxes give birth in daylight hours while hanging upside down. The baby emerges head first and is caught in the mother's wings. The baby suckles from a teat in her wing pit. She'll give him milk for at least 6 weeks after birth. Baby bats, or pups, can't regulate their body temperatures, so it's very important that he stays as close to mum as possible. If it's too cold, she can wrap her wings tightly around the pup. On the days when it's too hot, she can gently fan him with her wing. The pup will be very closely attached like this for the first 2 or 3 weeks of his life. He has a hook-like growth on the inside of his thumb claw that gives him a tight grip on his mum's fur. And it needs to be an extremely strong grip. For the first few weeks of his life, his mum takes him everywhere. Even going on foraging trips with baby clinging on underneath her as she flies along. After 3 weeks or so, he'll get too heavy for mum to carry, so she'll leave him in a nursery in the middle of the camp with the other babies while she goes feeding at night. He'll wean at around 12 weeks old and learn to fly at about the same age, but he'll still stay close to mum for 5 or 6 months. Flying foxes usually only have 1 pup a year. This slow population growth leaves the entire species vulnerable to environmental stresses like fires, heat waves and drought, and entire colonies have been wiped out. There's also a high mortality rate in young bats over the winter when they're less than a year old, especially if they have to cover long distances to find food. Learning how to find reliable food sources is vital for young bats, and getting it wrong can be fatal. The Musselbrook pups are around 9 months old now and have left mum. They've set up their own little area on the edges of the colony. It functions as a baby training camp. Here, they learn the finer points of bickering amongst themselves and the harsh realities of life in a dominance-based social hierarchy. They get the knack of branch negotiation and climbing. They They also practice their flying skills and the best way to land. As well as how to negotiate some of the more tricky terrain, like the reed beds below the trees. Flying foxes often make their camps by large bodies of water, like lakes or rivers. It's thought that the proximity of a geographical feature like this may make navigation back home easier. But it also means that in the more northern parts of Australia, water predators are a danger, especially to young, inexpert climbers. Crocodiles will make a meal of any flying fox that ventures too close. So the young bats must stay vigilant. The youngsters master the basics over spring and summer. Then the weather turns cooler. As autumn and winter approach in March and April, they're still not expert aviators yet, but they're fit to fly. It's time for the entire colony to move north to its winter camp. Fruit bats like these flying foxes are critical species, playing a key role in the ecology of any system they inhabit throughout the world. Without these furry flyers, the pollination and seed dispersal of important tree species would be endangered. Whether in the heart of a city park or far out in the bush, these winged mammals are vital to the continuing beauty and diversity of the Australian landscape, no matter how much noise they make.